Hello beauties, how are you all doing? My name is Shaz and I love colorful makeup. Today I'm going to do something super exciting, and that is playing with Blend Bunny's Sugar and Grunge palette. And yes beauties, the eye look I'm wearing right now is one of the eye looks we're going to be doing with this palette. We're going to do swatches and 3 eye looks. I'm also going to do side-by-side comparison of this palette with each of my other Blend Bunny palettes, and I have all of them. Maybe that helps you decide if this is distinct enough from other palettes or not. If all of that sounds good to you, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And yes, beauties, I am wearing sort of grungy nails because of the Sugar and Grunge. Let's go into the video. Before we get started with the first eye look, let's take a look at the swatches. Swatches are done on bare skin with no primer. Let's quickly talk about this palette. So the front of it, as you can see, it has Blend Bunny Cosmetics at the top. It says Sugar and Grunge. It has very beautiful pattern for roses, and at the bottom it says 24 shades for the 90s sweetheart, and then palette for eye and face. So obviously there are some pink colors in here you can use on your face if you want. On the back, same kind of a thing with some additional description of the eyeshadows. This is gonna expire in 12 months, but of course a lot of people like me use it way past that, and that it's made in China and it is recyclable. This palette has a little bit of a texture of squares on it. I'm hoping the camera's capturing it. Maybe you can see it around here with the lighting. The other Blend Bunny palettes don't have that texture on the outside packaging. This palette came inside this box which has the same kind of texture on the cardboard. This is the back. You can see the design of the palette here. Let's quickly open it. And this is what the inside looks like. If you're very curious, on the back of this box, it tells you which one of these are eye safe, which one are not. You know, it's going to tell you which one are considered face pigments, which one are eyeshadows. So if you're super curious about that, you can look there. I generally don't have issues with using what's considered as pigments on my eyes, but I can understand if you do. Make sure you keep the package so that you can keep that information. The interesting thing about this palette is that although this palette just has 4 rows, it is larger than this one. This one has 4 rows and 1 column less, but it is still smaller on the height even. So I think they have preserved some space between these colors. And then on this side you have a giant mirror, which is missing from some of Blend Bunny palettes. One thing that I think Blend Bunny itself has commented on its Instagram about was the fact that these don't necessarily follow the same logic, meaning, you know, you have green, so it made more sense to put this green at the top instead of this orange. You have purples, it made more sense to put purple here. You have teals, it made more sense to put the teal there, the red there, and so on. And Blend Bunny had commented about this on their Instagram. That is the only thing that kind of plays with people like myself who might have OCD, but the truth of the matter is I had not even noticed that until Blend Bunny mentioned it. Also perhaps because I didn't have the palette at that point in time. With the palette, I also purchased 1 lip color. This is Moody. This is their sort of most neutral color. It's sort of a dusty rose. Let me quickly swatch it and show you the swatch. I would say it's not super opaque. I don't know if it's supposed to be. The interesting thing is that this is the color that's on the packaging, and as you can see clearly, this is not that color. But that doesn't bother me. I actually wanted it to be this color because this was the color that showed on their website and the photos. It also came in this kind of a packaging in case you didn't sort of infer that already. I'll test the lip color later in the video. But let's go into the first eye look. I already primed my eyes with Painterly from MAC. And you know what, everybody? I'm going to use Blend Bunny's eye brushes for this look. I'm going to first go into this beautiful green called Ironic. And this is going to go into my crease. I'm so amazed and pleasantly surprised when I see pastels having such nice pigmentation. By the way, in case I didn't mention, this is B5 or brush number 5. I'm now going to pick B4. I'm going to go into this purple called Moody. I'm just brushing it on my eye at an angle to create a wing effect. It's easier to do this when I'm looking down. With the same brush that I picked Moody, I'm going to dab into this other color called Detention. And I'm going to put it over here. I'm trying to not bring it too high up to mix with green. We all know enough color theory to know that green and purple are going to give us brown. I'm sure you all have heard when people say, oh, this muddied. That's usually because they have mixed colors that should not have mixed. I'm going to use B5 again that had green on it, and I'm just going to clean up this top. And now I'm going to use NYX's glitter primer. What would I do without this primer? Beauties, if you know any other glitter primers, let me know. I'm going to put that at the corner here. I'm going to use this brush from Morphe. This is M210 because I have fat fingers, and the brush set from Blend Bunny does not have any flat brushes like this. I need it for picking up cream shadows. I'm going to go into Jawbreaker and I'm going to put it here. I have become so much better at doing this with a brush. If you all have been following my channel in the past year, you know that I've been asking about how to do this. I'm using the brush with the purple color B4 to blend this edge. Not bad. And then I am going to look up and use the same brush B4 for my lower lash line. Okay, beauties, now with a little bit of the medium purple color Detention on here, I'm just going to diffuse the lower lash line color a little bit. And because we're using the palette, I'm going to pick the smallest brush in the palette, B2, and I'm going to go into this one, Bubblegum, which looks like a very, very shimmery, pinky, sort of a frosty pink, but not really pink. It's like a frosty, very light pinky orange. And I'm gonna put this in the inner corner. Frankly, in my inner corner, it just looks like frosty, like white. Okay, beauties, I'm back with the final look. As I mentioned, I put Moody on my lips. I also put a little bit of this Super Shock Cheek highlighter. This is actually kind of a mix of highlighter and blush. It's from the Biddy collection. I had this whole collection. This is from a few years ago. It was amazing. I put a little bit of it on my cheek, and then I put a little bit on my Cupid's bow and on here on my lips, which then could mean maybe this isn't the color that it was meant to be. Maybe it's not showing up the color that it was meant to be on my lips, so I'll try to wear it in another look as well to make sure you can see the color correctly. But anyway, I'm putting this on my cheek. I know this color itself might not be available, but I'm sure similar colors are available. Creates a very subtle highlighter effect. It's just gonna give you that nice glow. The name on this Super Shock Cheek is Glow Burst, in case you have it. I highly doubt this color is available, and even if it is, it's definitely not going to say that it's from the Biddy collection. I'm sure ColourPop has similar ones today. If you know a dupe to this, write it below. You know, I think the blending was great. I'm impressed by the pastel's performance. You know, a lot of pastels just don't show up on me. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, watch the video I have of the collab between Revolution and Finding Nemo. So this is kind of what I expect when I say payoff or pigmentation. But I'm a general fan of Blend Bunny. I was not expecting anything less. So far, so good. Now let me bring the camera closer and show you the eye look from close up. Okay, Okay, beauties, back with the second eye look. For the sake of a research, I'm gonna use Primer Potion so that I'm not using the same Painterly constantly. Goal is to use Blend Bunny brushes, so I'm gonna try to use as many of these as I can. Let's try this green. We're gonna go into the outer V directly. If you don't feel as confident as I do, just going in with this large brush, you can pick a smaller one. Because I don't have any fluffy brush here, I'm gonna pick this brush from Michaela collection. This is number 4. I'm gonna go into this second color, 1995, and then I'm gonna use this to blend this area. This palette, Beauties, is so impressively pigmented. I'm now going to use the same brush. Looking up, I am going to just draw this against my lower lash line for some color payoff. I'm liking this. And I'm going to pick the glitter primer. I'm going to put the primer here. You could also, Beauties, if you feel like it, and sometimes I do that, just go for an all matte look. I'm going to put a little bit of this Butterfly. It's a beautiful seafoam blue, bluey, tealy color. And I'm gonna put it here on the inner half of my lid. The whole purpose of these kinds of videos is so that you all can mimic this eye look if this is something you like, and they're pretty easy to make. I'm gonna use a little bit of this candy on a very, very tiny brush. I thought about putting this in the inner corner, but I think it's gonna be a little dark for the inner corner. So I'm going to brush it against my lower lash line. And now that we're doing this just for the sake of research, I'm going to pick the smallest headed brush from the Blend Bunny collection. This is number 3. I'm going to go into Sweetheart. Let's put this in the inner corner and see. I'm just going to put it here. You know, particularly if this is lighter than your skin color, it is going to open up your eyes. A few other things you can do with the same color is you can put on the brow bone to highlight the brow bone. You can use it to blend these edges if it's the color of your skin, or just to blend this out. Okay, beauties, I put Moody on my lips again just to see how it performs, because this is the only one that I bought from this collection, and not bad. I think it actually goes with this eye look because the eye look is also kind of cool toned. Related to this lipstick, it's not a thick type of a lipstick that stays on your lips and so on. It's very thin and comfortable. You know, it's maybe a little thicker than ColourPop's Blotted lip formula, so you're not gonna feel like you have something thick on your lips. And I generally like that. I like everything from Blotted lip all the way to thick lipsticks, so I'm good with that. It also is not drying or anything. It's pretty comfortable on the lips. I actually could easily forget that I'm wearing it. And beauties, as far as second, well, actually this wasn't the second application. This, as I said, I've been using this palette in other videos. But, well, as far as the first few application goes, one thing that I can speak to is that the mattes are very creamy and blendable and pigmented. They kind of remind me of Glam Shop mattes. They have a little bit of kick up, but they are very creamy and pigmented, and it's just so nice to work with them. And the shimmers are as I expected. There's nothing specific or different about the shimmers. I generally like this eye look. Anyway, so that is that for the second eye look. Before we go into the third eye look, let me bring the camera closer and show you this eye look from close up. Okay, beauties, we're back with the third eye look. Let's just go in. I don't remember what primers I used, so I'm just gonna use Painterly. Again, the reason it matters is because I always try to use different kinds of primers just so we can also test and see how this performs on different types of primers. At this point, I have used this palette not just in the 2 videos that you already saw, but also I used it in One to Buy or Not to Buy that's already up on my channel, and another video that I did with Cleona's, what is the name of their recent palette? Deep Sea Treasures, that's the one. I used this as a companion palette for that. And I'll tag those videos below just in case you want to see how the different colors perform. I'm saying that because I have used the different colors in this palette in different videos, so maybe those videos are helpful also. In this eye look, I'm planning on doing something a little bit more neutral because all of those other looks, which there's at least like 4 looks that I've done, are very colorful. So this one is going to be a little bit more neutrally, which means I'm going to use some of these. Maybe I'll go into the pink or the red. We'll see. And we're continuing with Blend Bunny brushes. I'm using B5, which is the largest headed brush, and I'm going to go into this color, Complicated, using this in my crease. What is going on with these brows? Pretty pigmented, as you all see. I'm now using this one, which is a little bit pointier. I'm gonna go into Runway, this dark, cool toned brown. I mean, most colors in this palette are cool toned. And I'm using this to deepen out this outer edge. With the first brush, I'm gonna blend this area. The 2 colors kind of separated. I don't know what's going on. You know what? Let me use a different brush. Maybe that brush is a little too pointy. I'm going to use the smaller headed brush. This is B4. And I'm going to go back into this color and trying to fix these areas. And also blending it a little bit into the other one. These brushes are nice. They're just a little pointy. I feel like you can't really... You know, I want something fluffy to be able to blend these, and these are amazing and very nice for inner corner, for under the lower lash line, for details, but not for just like blending these 2 colors. I feel like I'm blending them with something very pointy. Because there are no packing brushes in Blend Bunny's brush set, I'm gonna pick a flat brush. This is from BH Cosmetics, from their, if you all remember, they released a brush set when they release different palettes every month. This is for 2021. This was Opal, which is for one of the months. I don't remember which month. I'm gonna go into Mixtape, and I'm gonna bring this Beauties. I recently bought Blowing Smokes palette from ColourPop, which was a palette I've been wanting to buy for years now, and then I kept talking myself out of it because picking up the first brush and brushing these all into each other, I talked myself out of it, Beauties, all along, because I was like, girl, you don't use neutrals. Why do you want a palette of all grays and black? We'll see how that palette will be used. I'm using B3, and I'm gonna go into Payphone. Let's put this in my inner corner. I'm now using the first brush that I used on the darker color, and I'm gonna go in under my lower lash line with whatever's left on it. Beauties, now I'm gonna take just a fluffy brush, and I'm just gonna blend everything. Okay, this is kind of a smoky look. There is a tiny bit of patchiness with these mattes. Now, when you're using mattes on a large surface, that is not uncommon, particularly neutral mattes. So I'm not too upset about that. Also, I have hooded eyes, so there's a little bit of folding, and every time you close your eyes and open it, they kind of rub against each other, which could remove the powder. That could also lead to patchiness or, you know, creasing and things like that. But overall, I'm not upset at this. I'm actually liking it. It's growing on me. Let me do the other eye and come back. Okay, Beauties, I'm back with the full look. As I promised, I used Moody again on my lips, so you can see sort of the completed look with the lipstick. Now, this look is very cool toned. Let's talk about this palette a little bit. You know, when I saw the palette, I did not really think too much through it. I thought this is just another palette that is very similar to things they've done. I'm going to show side-by-side comparison of this palette with all the other Blend Bunny palettes that I have, and I have all of them after this. But in one look, when I saw the launch announcement and the reveal, I thought this looks very similar to Dollhouse. I didn't necessarily think it's saying something new, but now actually after using it, I realized that Dollhouse is much more warm toned, and this palette is literally only cool toned. So this is definitely a different take. This is not saying the same thing, and it's going to give you a different effect from that palette. And then of course you're going to get colors that don't exist in that palette, like the purple, for example, or the green. I actually think this palette could be an interesting companion to that palette to give you new effects. Now, there might be some dupes because there's some, you know, the brown, if you all remember, Dollhouse had browns, had like multiple dark browns. And well, I have a video about Dollhouse. I'm not going to say everything I said in that video. I'll just tag it below if you want to know what my thoughts are on that. But I know in a to buy or not to buy, I asked, do we need all of these colors? And now that I see them from close up, yes we do. They're not the same color. Other than that, I really like the quality of this palette. I think it was pretty consistent with what I've seen from Blend Bunny. These pastels, to the level that I used them, were pretty pigmented. The dark colors blended relatively well. You have seen them already in some of the eye looks, and in a minute I'll bring the camera closer and show you this one from close up as well. I haven't had any issues that I can think about. There was a little bit of patchiness with some of the dark colors. Now, dark pigments can be more prone to patchiness, particularly cool tone dark pigments, because they're finer. It is what it is. There's not a whole lot we can do, beauties. But in spite of that, I still thought the palette performed really, really well. Also, don't forget, I do have hooded eyes, so how things perform on my eyes might not be how they are going to perform on your eyes. Of course, everything I mentioned in this video is based on first applications and first impressions of how these colors performed on me. I can't really give you a comprehensive review. A lot of times after a while when you use palettes, your opinion might change about things. But as of the moment, I'm pretty happy I purchased this palette. Would I purchase it again if I didn't have it right now? Yes, I would. Do I think it adds additional value in spite of the fact that I have every single Blend Bunny's palette? I do think that. I actually was not sure about that, but I do believe that it does now that I've used it, because I do think this gives a different eye effect. It gives very cool eye effect. And I don't know if the other palettes did. So if this is your type of color story and cool tones look good on you, I highly recommend considering this palette. You might enjoy it. Okay, beauties, let me bring the camera closer and show you this eye look from close up. And then after that, I'm going to show a side-by-side comparison of this palette with each of my other Blend Bunny palettes for you. So this is all done up versus Sugar and Grunge. I really can't find any color that is an exact dupe. I mean, you do have the grays, you have this color, and then that color, but they're not really dupes. And then you also have the greens, right? This one and then those two. Still, I can't really say any of them is an exact dupe. Of course, in this row, you have a few colors that could be duped with some of those colors, or the exact dupes. You really need to look at the swatches. This is Sugar and Grunge versus Laura palette. I can find even less dupes in this one. Again, maybe you can say this is a dupe for that. Honestly, it's a stretch. Or the purples, you could say they're dupes, or the pink, but it's gonna be a very lengthy stretch. I can't really see any dupes. Maybe this is a dupe for that. Next up, we have Primal, which at the moment is unavailable because Blend Bunny just sold all of them. I think they mentioned they might bring it back at some point, but it's not going to be available for a while at least. They're opening up space for new releases. But if you have this palette, there could be some, a few dupes. Maybe this red is a dupe. Maybe this green is a little bit of a dupe to that. There's quite a bit of purples in both palettes. You have that versus that. And of course you have the gigantic black matte over here that could be a dupe to the black matte. I think that one is a black matte. Yeah, but I can't really see any obvious dupes. I mean, maybe this green is a dupe to that. Do you need both of them? I don't know. Next one on the docket is Dollhouse. Honestly, when I saw Sugar and Grunge's photos, I thought this is closest to Dollhouse. And I thought this would be a colorful version of Dollhouse because it has quite a bit of neutral colors and then also some row of colorful shimmers if you wanted to make more shimmery looks. Although it has one row less than Dollhouse, you do have a row that kind of reminds me of the same. And then some of these colors just visually looked similar. You have a few reds here, you have a red there, and then the purple and the purple. And then some of these creams, it just looked similar to me in photos. But I think I already mentioned in the video that after using it, I realized they're not that similar. Also, Dollhouse is very warm toned overall, and Sugar and Grunge is super cool toned. I actually think these two palettes can be great complements. Surge is the first palette I purchased from Blend Bunny, and it's my favorite palette, and it's the grungiest palette from Blend Bunny. Honestly, I feel like it's even more grungy than Sugar and Grunge. But because it's grungy, I could argue that there are some similar dupes. Like the greens, maybe I could say these greens are kind of similar. I don't think there is anything exact, but in theory, or maybe this green, or the purple, the reds. There could be some dupish colors, this purple with that shimmery purple, the pink. I don't think there is any exact dupe between any of Blend Bunny palettes, but the question is, are the colors that look similar enough going to look that different on your eyes? Regardless, I'm happy to have both of these palettes as separate palettes because nothing's going to replace this row of neons. Anything I say is going to be a replica of what I said about the other palettes. No color that pops off the palette as exact dupes or super similar, but there are colors that it's arguable whether they look different on your eyes, like the teal color, that one versus that one, maybe this red color and that one, maybe some of the purple colors or the light pink. And of course, blends is all matte and there are no shimmers in that palette. Okay, beauties, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also consider subscribing to my channel if you are not subscribed already. Thanks again. I love you all. Have an amazing day, and until next time. Bye.